Welcome everybody to the SoFloPoJo launch. And I call it the flaunch because it's the flash launch, but who has time, really? So we're going to be celebrating the May and August issues of South Florida Poetry Journal Flash section. And we have some wonderful readers tonight for you. I'm Francine Witte. I'm here in New York City in a fake bookstore. And running things for us tonight is Michael Mackin O'Mara, our editor-in-chief and publisher, and all-around wonderful person. And so I am going to start. I usually like to I don't want the first person to have to go first. So I just like to warm things up. And I'm going to read a piece by my good friend and our good friend, many of us, Meg Pocris. And this is from the new Micro, which was one of the Norton anthologies that came out a few years ago. And this is called The Landlord. I smooth my hair, lean my cheek against the wall to chill. He wrote a note next to the emergency numbers, used the clown magnet, stuck it on the fridge. It said, for crying out loud, he's letting me live here cheap, letting me use his car, his CD player, his lotions. It's time. Says he's falling for me, even though I'm a walking disaster. Those words. I walk out of the bedroom I rent from him. I pay on time. He's lying on the sofa, bare feet hinged over the arm, a dish of cocaine and guest spoons dainty on the coffee table near the fruit bowl. I bend down to tie my shoes, say, hey, turn on the jacuzzi. I'll just run out for cigarettes. He slices a sleepy bear smile my way. My mouth stretches sideways and upward like a circus trick. That's the wonderful Meg Pocris to get us started. Okay, so as promised, we have some wonderful, wonderful readers for you tonight. And our first reader is Claire Bateman. Claire Bateman, she has a piece in the August issue. She's the author of the hybrid collection, The Pillow Museum, Fiction Collector 2, and 9 poetry collections, most recently, Wonders of the Invisible World, 42 Miles Press, and Scape, New Issues Poetry and Prose. She has been awarded individual artist fellowships by the National Endowment of the Arts and the Tennessee Arts Commission Foundation, as well as 2 Pushcart Prizes and the New Millennium Poetry Prize, also twice. She lives in Greenville, South Carolina, and is poetry editor of Hubris. Claire Bateman.
Thank you. Thank you, Francine and Michael, and it's so great to be reading with all of you. This is a short story called The Radiant Age. Yes, there are still some people alive who remember that otherwise ordinary Tuesday in February when, as dawn broke time zone by time zone around the globe, the air suddenly became visible as color streams, like it was awakening from a long dream of obscurity, or light had decided to turn itself inside out. Startled by the iridescence rippling against their windows, adults locked their children indoors, stepped hesitantly onto their porches, drawn by the shimmering motion, yet fearful that the fuchsia, turquoise, vermilion, etc., might clog their lungs. A few even pricked their own fingers to make sure that inhaling this strange air wasn't making their blood run aquamarine or canary yellow. When they discovered it was still red and that breathing felt just the same as it always had, they gave themselves up to a frenzy of picture taking, selfie in tangerine and ochre, selfie in burnished gold. Released to play in the brightness, the children tried to close their fists around the colors slipping between their fingers and stuck out their tongues in hopes that the breezes would be candy flavored, but they tasted disappointingly neutral. For a while, the whole world seemed like a party, a placid pastel cotillion, a neon hallucinogenic rave, and every kind of celebration in between, depending on atmospheric conditions. Hardly anybody went to work. Instead, they all wandered around, marveling at how the colors flowed, mixing and separating languidly or violently according to weather patterns. Eventually, of course, the people became habituated to the sight of their own neighborhood's atmospheric palettes, no matter how lavish, and then everyone was on the move to view the bone silver winds of craggy coastlines, the delicate viridian breezes gracing mountain tea gardens, the vertiginous indigo crush of rainforest monsoons. But since the human psyche can bear only a limited amount of novelty and transcendence, this travel craze eventually burned itself out. The voyagers returned home to change tires and tote groceries amid local chromatic eddies, as well as cook and sleep in them, since by then the outside air had circulated into all the buildings. Life went on in the normal ways, except that hardly anyone used cosmetics, created art, or dressed in anything but white, black, or gray, since everyone's visual perceptions were already filtered through veil upon veil of shifting color. And now, on each anniversary of the change, the elders describe how things used to be, while everyone else scrunches up their faces, struggling to picture the lusterless past. How did the people endure it, they ask, and the elders assure them of how lucky they are to have been born in the radiant age. Yet not everyone is dismayed by the thought of invisible air. In fact, a rumor has sprung up that someplace in the world, on which of the 7 continents nobody knows, there's a remote and hidden valley inexplicably shielded from the change. Unaware of their singularity, its reclusive inhabitants move through each day barefaced, without any colors between them. Though most people recoil from this story with a combination of pity and disgust, it has ignited the imagination of a few individuals in every city. But because they're savvy enough to keep their fascination a secret, each will go through their whole life assuming they're the only one who daydreams about sailing over storm-racked oceans, slogging through putrid bogs, and staggering along frozen mountain passes, ice axe in hand, until at last they discover the valley where they can gaze to their heart's content into that element so wondrously disguised as pure and perfect absence. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Just like what a gorgeous way to start us off tonight. Beautiful language. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Okay, next we're going to hear from Jeff Harvey, who's also in the August issue. Jeff Harvey lives in San Diego and edits Gooseberry Pie, wonderful journal of 6-sentence stories. His work has recently appeared in, or is forthcoming in, Whale Road Review, Ghost Parachute, Bending Genres, and Moon Park Review. He's online at jhhwriter.com. Jeff Harvey.
Thank you. Thanks, Francine and Michael. Yeah, my piece in the August issue is First Day Jitters. Miss Cheatham asked me on my first day in her first 5th grade classroom to introduce myself. So I walked to the front and said, "Hi, I'm Pete, and I like to swim and paint pictures of dragons. And me and my younger brother have the same last name, even though we have different dads. Because if anybody on the West Coast heard my brother's real last name, they'd know his dad was the head of that motorcycle gang with angels on their jackets, which is one reason we had to leave Vegas. But mainly we left after Mom got into trouble working at the Stardust because she only dealt aces to her boyfriend, and some kind of bad guy saw it on camera and was after her. But Mom knew where to hide out, so he would never find us, and that's why we're back in Memphis." And I've got one other I could read. It's Twister, and it's from Bending Genres. It was in Bending Genres earlier the year. Sam swore the security guards, the customer service agents, even the cleaners were watching him while he waited at the airport for his flight, and insisted the shoe store where he worked hired them. As I drove my buddy home, Sam vilified his manager for sending him to the conference in Kansas City. That bastard set me up after his wife caught us in their garage. An emergency radio broadcast interrupted Janis Joplin's wailing. Tornado warnings include Shelby County. Take appropriate measures. Sam insisted it was all part of their plan to get rid of him. The clouds darkened and a twister appeared on the horizon. I stopped the car and yelled, "Gotta take cover to save ourselves." I sprinted and dove into a ditch filled with water that smelled like dead animals. The tornado passed over, reminding me of that gunfire raid by the Viet Cong. Minutes later, I staggered out of the ditch and saw no damage to my car or the surrounding homes, only some downed trees. Sam was missing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff Harvey. And as I mentioned, Jeff is the editor of Gooseberry Pie, which is a great journal of 6-sentence stories. And check them out. Like, some of the sentences are a paragraph. Some of them are just like a little sentence. So please check them out. And I know a lot of you have been in Gooseberry Pie. It's a wonderful journal. So thank you, Jeff, for being here with us. Jeff Harvey.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Shoshauna Shai. She's also in the August issue. She earned a notable story distinction in the Brilliant Flash Fiction 2022 contest, was included in their 10th anniversary contest anthology in 2024, and long and shortlisted in the Bath Flash Fiction Award anthologies in 2022 and 23. She was shortlisted for the Flash Fiction Contest 2023 awards conducted by South Shore Review, and in 2025 was a finalist for the Wild Atlantic Writing Award out of Donegal, Ireland. Shoshauna Shai. Okay.
Now, I was just saying, it's great to see be able to match all the faces to the names that I've seen in various journals over the years.
Mm-hmm.
My story is titled Sheet Cake from Target. Okay, so I kicked the bucket 8 days before Christmas. Not the best time to try and nab a pastor, funeral director, or airline tickets. Besides, Kenny and his wife are coping with that wild card stepson who totaled their Buick. And Bethany is packing her family for the holidays in Paris. Jamie's bakery has orders up the wazoo, so it's not like he can get here and do my red velvet cheesecake or that chocolate tuxedo torte I adore. Arnold, not their father, is totally useless at organizing a movie date, bless his heart. Much less a razzle-dazzle ballyhoo for me. No one knew about my faulty heart valve anyway. So if nobody can make it to Ypsilanti for Ode Graham till after New Year's, that's soon enough. But then it's Groundhog Day, and there I lay, still in cold storage. Even got the headstone, casket, and plot paid for in advance, so it's just one simple phone call on their part. Wrote a little comedy skit for the twins, made a playlist with some George Winston, everybody likes George Winston, and instructions for Bethany to sing The Water is Wide with her guitar. Figure those lessons during high school should pay off somehow. Next thing I know, Kalick Funeral Home gets on Kenny's case, says they can't keep me any longer. It's state law. Didn't they tell him about the casket, for Christ's sake? I spent a week deciding between a blue or pink sateen liner, then went with pink to give my face some color. But whatever Kalick did or didn't say, knee-jerk Kenny somehow opts to go the cremation route. Doesn't even check with anybody. So Arnold, being Arnold, plunks me down on the dining room table, tells them how he gets to eat with me every night, ha ha. Says, let's plan a memorial for the spring. Bury her ashes then, says my Arnold. April, April, April bounces phone to phone. The new mantra. April's just around the corner. Except now it's June. Now it's graduation parties. and swim lessons and mini golf lessons and some ditzy coworker's wedding. Excuse me? Coworker? Every weekend, chock-a-block. Arnold wants to put our house in the market because he's relocating to Sunset Villa on Sanibel Island. That's where the biddies line up to fawn over any remnant of the male species that washes ashore. God damn it, Kenny, can't you concoct a little to do in the backyard before he sails? Because what I want is to swoop in and eavesdrop while you all are finally gathered in one place. Let me hear the stories traded about my Cool Whip waffles, our sledding party, our sledding hill Saturdays, the soccer games I sat through, the pooches I rescued, little Doxy napping on my feet under the dining table. Remember that? I wore those fur slippers on purpose. The hands of rummy we played when you each made it home weekend nights and we sipped 7-Up and ate Malamars, sometimes till 2 a.m. Got you home by curfew that way. And those quilts I sewed from all your pajama tops once Jamie outgrew them. Now they cover the grandchildren's beds. So drop belly hoopla, Kenny. Drop razzle dazzle. Just make a picnic in the yard. Tell your brother he doesn't need to assemble no ganache, orange liqueur, 5-layer anything. I'll settle for a sheet cake from Target. A day of sheet cake will do. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Shoshauna. And I'm going to retell that story that I told you before. I went to a workshop with Billy Collins, who was a teacher this summer. And he published this book, Poetry 180, which if you're anything like close to a high school teacher, you know that it's pretty popular in the schools. And Shoshana has a poem in there, and he highlighted it for us in class. So when I saw your name, I said, oh, wow, we just accepted something from her. So it was pretty exciting. So very nice to have you, Shoshana, and to meet you. Well, not in person, but as close to as we can for right now. Shoshana Shai, thank you for being here tonight with us.
Thank you.
I want to just give a special hello to one of the poetry editors of SoFloPoJo, the lovely Judy Ireland, and thank you for being here, Judy. Next, we're going to hear from Mikki Aronoff, who was in the May issue. So we're going to look back a little bit. Mikki Aronoff writes tiny stories and advocates for animals. Her work has been long listed for the Winkleaf Top 50 and nominated for Pushcart Best of the Net, Best Small Fictions, Best American Short Stories, and Best Microfiction. Mikki has stories in Best Microfiction 2024 and Best Small Fictions 2024, and upcoming in Best Microfiction 2025. She lives in New Mexico, and you can read her everywhere. Pretty much, I think. Welcome, Mikki Aronoff.
Oh, thank you so much, Francine and Michael, for this wonderful event. I am so happy to be here with all of you. I've got a tiny story. It's called Return. He said he was coming back, but that was in '63. And here I wait, sleepy feet up, stiff fingers splayed across an open book, words flickering and dimming along with the lamp, wondering whether he'll return as the slick fish he was back then, slippery creature of babble and splash. He'll plunge and paddle around a bit, then bid adieu to the sea and swan on up the Hudson. He'll get his wiggle tangled in some net and find himself smoked and laid atop a slab of cream cheese smeared on a fresh baked bialy. I'll duck into that deli, wolf that swimmer down, chase the taste of him with a celery tonic, a Sunday treat after brisk walking a half block, which is about all I can manage these days. I could fill half a page with the flash of our dalliance, hours not squandered in splendid shagging. Now, maybe that's my Frankie come back, twitching my ears, curling my gnarly toes toward the skies. Thank you.
Great reading, Mikki. I love that. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, Mikki Aronoff. I see that people are putting comments in the chat, and please, I totally encourage you to do that because it's very nice to for the readers to see that. Hey, next we're going to hear from someone who's new to me. So I don't have a cute story about her just yet. Abbie Dahl, she's in the August issue. She's a writer in residence in Columbus, Ohio, with an MFA from Lindenwood University and is flash fiction and identity theory. Her work has been featured in Doors Ajar magazine, 3 AM magazine, and Pinch Journal Online, among others. It has also been longlisted for the Wigleaf Top 50 and nominated for the Best Small Fictions, Best Microfiction, and the Pushcart Prize. Connect on socials at Abbie Dahl Writes. Let's hear from Abbie Dahl. Abbie Dahl.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. This is my flash piece entitled Foreheads, the Billboards of the Face. They'd met through mutual friends, bonding over their state-based names, his short for California, hers for Arizona. What with them sharing a border and all, building a life together seemed inevitable. One night, Cal stood scrubbing away at a pancake stack of dinner dishes, whistling while he worked and all that, when Ari stormed down the stairs, mission at hand. She burst into the kitchen, electric toothbrush buzzing, a contained hive between her lips, paying him no mind while she rummaged through the junk drawer. He stood there in inquisitive silence, watching the episode unfold, her determination and electric force dominating the room, always. Ari, in her secret desperation, unearthed a crumpled pad, holding it up to no one in particular in a flashy huzzah motion. Her hands, moist from the aforementioned brushing, shifted to dampness to the paper in her grasp, peppering it with raindrop splotches until its stark whiteness began to resemble a pale Dalmatian. And like a dog, she resumed her plunderous dig, shoving shit aside in a thunderous display. Cal continued to stare and admire, earthquake shook by her passion, as Ari unearthed the bouquet of ballpoint pens. She clicked and scribbled the first, but got no ink, chucked it into the sink, where it made a plop and a splash into his sudsy, forgotten dishwater. She Goldilocks proceeded to the second, which too was a storybook dud, an undetonated grenade that soon ricocheted off their tile backsplash, off hexagons of shimmery gold, clattering to the counter. Cal approached with hands outstretched, but Ari was too immersed, too honey-glued to her archaic hunt for a functioning writing utensil to see. She grabbed a third, which worked, producing its ink in a satisfying, revelatory stream as she scribbled out her thought in a fury of a hurry, undoubtedly determined to secure it, to protect it from the greedy jowls of the unspeakable ether. She folded the finished slip in two, stuck it into her pocket, and snuck back to the doorway, beyond ready to spit and rinse, but Cal was waiting, sneak attack ready. He seized his shot, scooped her up, and wrestled her back, pinning his possessed lass with a playful pounce. Ari shrieked and squirmed, but his fridge-like weight kept her in place as he dug his fingers down into the pockets of her jeans, claiming his treasure. Dominance asserted, the win was his. He Simba hoisted the soggy slip above her head and read its contents, bursting into a laugh of disbelief, giving her a look like this? This was worth all this hassle just to jot down? She nodded, eager and sheepish, a sly grin creeping. He held her there a moment longer, grabbed a black Sharpie from the ravished drawer, and scrawled "for rent" in big, bold strokes across the vacant space, the prime real estate of his goofy lover's face. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Abbie. That was just really wonderful. And welcome to SoFloPoJo. Before we continue, I want to just give a little shout out to some of the lovely people here in the Zoom room who aren't reading. Stacy Kiner, Christina Linson, Calliope Pelios, Andrea Marcusa, Deanna Benjamin, Judy Ireland, who I mentioned, Nicolette Stewart, Shweta Amit, Manar Nasser, Benjamin Reed, and Eleanor Munoz. And if I passed over you, it's only because, you know, the Zoom squares get kind of mixed up. So please just put in the chat and I'll catch you on the next round. Okay, well, thank you for being here, because I know you could be somewhere else, you could be anywhere else, but you chose to be here, and we very much appreciate it. Okay, next we're going to move on to also someone from the August, Maru Yang, who I also haven't had the pleasure of meeting before. She's a youth writer and former Power of the Pen state tournament finalist as of the 2022-23 season. Her work can be found in Chapter House Journal. Maru Yang.
Thank you. So this is a short story called Cherished Things. The old woman stood in the midday sunlight beneath the summer fog that clung to her skin like the scent of cinnamon and grain. The moisture had dampened the rotting trunks of the fallen trees that were scattered across the forest floor, and the once calloused wood was now like a sponge within her grasp as she knelt down and carefully pried it away from the soil. She lifted the piece of wood up to the sunlight and inspected it, holding it close enough to her face so she could smell its earthy sweetness, so similar to the smell of rain. She would start a collection, she thought absently, and tucked the piece away into her bag. She had been coming to these woods quite often now, ever since her husband had passed away last spring, and she had found it to be surprisingly regretful that she had not come sooner to revisit this place. When she was young, she had chased fantasies of ambition and money and fame, million-dollar mansions, paparazzi at her doors, fans screaming her name. How ironic it was that back then she had wished on stars, yet now that she had lived among them and touched the chalk of the moon, the place where it all began was where she wanted to be. And if she closed her eyes and listened well enough for it, she could still make out the melody beneath the harmonies of the birds and cricket songs, singing out the symphonies of their prologues and their stories. Down by the banks of the hanky-panky, it whispered, where the bullfrogs jumped from bank to banky. She saw a flicker of their young, muddy faces, their hands stacked one over the other. And a fee, fi, bo, fum, who's got the rhythm of the kerplunk. A final clap of hands, laughter, then resignation, and one by one they tapped out of the circle until they were no longer 10 strong, but 2. The old woman forgot birthday dates and lyrics to songs and where she last put her keys and how to fold origami. But this she remembered, and, perhaps more unexpectedly, this was what she most never wanted to forget. She could still hear their voices filling the air, still feel the sweat of their palms against her skin. She remembered once when she was a little girl, her father had taken her to the elementary school that he had attended in his youth. A new playground had been built beside the old one, with soft rubber mats and mulch and plastic rock walls and swings and spinning tubes. The old playground had been a single metal slide, the color of the dull, cheap toilets found in public parks, and the ground beneath it was an unmulched patch of flattened dirt where the grass had died long ago. As a young girl, the new playground had been dazzling with its colors and climbing bars, and, as she played, she could not understand why her father's gaze continued to drift away towards a lone slide in the corner of the empty space. "Why don't you go play over there?" he had asked her, but she was busy with the jumping ropes and other games. Fast forward years later, her father's early memories died with him in the grave, time buried deep within the soil as his life sprang forth and fell rightfully back, because gravity keeps you tethered to your birthplace. Still, the old woman couldn't help but wonder. What secret was it that her father had seen within that grassy plain and that old metal slide? An entire era of laughter and memories were etched into its rusting frame, the language scrawled across its bones like hieroglyphics lost to the present age. Perhaps she would never truly know what had happened there, because memory is like another dimension, mysterious as a wind, yet how similarly she saw now that she and her father might have lived if she put their lives side by side and intertwined their sorrows and cherished things. Thank you.
Oh, that was beautiful, Maru. Please submit more to us. We want to see more from you. And I know we're going to be hearing from you much more. It's beautiful. Maru Yang. Okay, now we're going to hear from Travis Flatt, who's also in the August issue, him. He's an him is an epileptic teacher and actor living in Cookeville, Tennessee. His stories appear in Gone Long, Flash Frog, Flash Boulevard, New Flash Fiction Review, JMWW, Prime Number, Puerto del Sol, and other places. He is a Best Small Fictions nominee and was longlisted for the Wigleaf Top 50. He enjoys theaters, dogs, and theatrical dogs, and often with his wife and son, Travis Flatt.
I'm going to read a short story of Exiles in the Forest of Ghostlights. I am Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, and I stand and gulp like a toad, sweating and saying nothing, and nothing, and more nothing. Someone in the audience, old from the sound, coughs so loud I can feel it in my knees. Mike, who plays Horatio, stares at me while one leisurely bead of sweat moseys down his forehead and rests at the tip of his nose. His eyes scream, "Dude, for Christ's sake, say something." I walk off stage left, just walk right off stage left. Exit stage left, pursued by silence. Instead of discovering a frantic stage manager standing at a podium with a script to cue me, I find darkness, so much of it, miles, infinite, until, one by one, flick on little bluish lights. I make my way to the nearest light, and it's a ghost light lamp, the pole lamps illuminating backstage in most theaters with soft blue-white bulbs. I'm in a forest of them, amongst a constellation. The ghost light only gives off light, so it's cold here. There's a slight chilly breeze. Nearby, I make out a throng of figures huddled around another ghost light like an impotent campfire. I wander over to slip in and join their hushed conversation, see a guy dressed in a toga, a mime, a dude in a bear suit, and a flapper lady. I hope to go unnoticed, to eavesdrop, but they stop to stare at me. "Hey, y'all," I say, "what's all this?" Bearsuit gestures outward with both hands like ta-da, and says, "Well, this is where you go when it happens." And the rest nod. Toga guy mutters something in Latin. "Oh," I say, "well, can I ever go back?" Flapper lady shakes her head sadly and says, "Not unless you remember." I look back and see no trace of the stage curtains I parted to give me into the speckled void. The dotting of lights seemed to have spread through the outlying darkness, advancing in all directions, as they say our universe might, and more blink on around the rim of the expanding perimeter. "Wait, shit," I say. My girlfriend's back there in the audience with my parents." Bearsuit shrugs and says, "And I heard we had a scout come down from Hollywood, from MGM. That's a sad story, bub." The mime dabs her eyes with an invisible handkerchief. She blows her nose with it, then smiles and offers it to me. I smile back and decline. "Oh, I'm sorry, dear," Flapper lady says. "We all lost someone." Now she glares at Bearsuit. This isn't the company any of us would have chosen, I'm sure. Bearsuit brightens. "Oh, hey, you didn't bring any cigarettes." Toga guy looks up, hopeful, mutters something still in Latin to Bearsuit. Bearsuit nods, then slyly says, We know you got something to drink." "Ignore them," Flapper Lady says. "Try to concentrate while it's still fresh. Where were you in the show?" I pace, snapping a finger, and say, "To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the the mime holds her left arm straight out, gripping something in her hand, squints like she's aiming, then strains to pull something back with the other fist. "Arrow!" I shout. They shush me. "Slings and arrows," I whisper. "God, thank you. Slings and arrows." In the distance, the light begin blinking off, sweeping inward toward us. My fellow ghostlight campers shuffle away separately into the darkness, and for a moment, I'm back in the blackness, and a column of light opens ahead, through which I hear the shuffling of programs, a sniffle, my dad's distinctive bassy mumble, and my final thought is how badly I need to pee as I step into the yawning brightness. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Travis. That was wonderful. Travis Flatt. Okay, thank you for being here with us tonight, Travis. All right, our next reader is from the May issue. And, you know, some of you have in your bios about you reference Best Microfiction, and our next reader is one of the editors of Best Microfiction. That's just one of the things he does. His latest Flash collection, Gary Fink's latest Flash collection is The History of the Baker's Dozen, Pelicanesis 2024. He is co-editor of the annual anthology Best Microfiction. Welcome, Gary.
Thanks, Francine. This story happens to be one that when I finished it, it felt open-ended enough, and I was interested enough in these people that I surrounded this with about 4,000 other words, and it became a full-length story called with the same title, In the Heart, in my newest collection of new full-length stories called After the Locks Are Changed. In the Heart. After the pandemic began, Dale awakened screaming once or twice a week. He told his wife Scylla that his nightmares always included him or her or their daughter Kayla threatened by bombs, madmen, and falls from great heights. "There are more nights than you think there are," Scylla said. "It's worse when you don't wake up. Your screams are more like whimpers, like whatever was going on, you'd given up." Dale frowned, but didn't argue. Months of the virus made them quieter, more careful. After the grocery delivered, Scylla sanitized their produce as if they were hospitalized. They were riding this out, she told him, as if they'd paid in advance for a season pass next year when everything would be normal. "Japan's already reopening amusement parks," Dale said. "The news showed a clip while you were in the shower." "They don't have cases anymore?" Scylla was busy with her election stuff. When Dale had said it was summer, months yet until voting, she reminded him it was never too soon to keep the town safe from fools. "Fewer than last month, enough for people to ride," Dale said. "To prevent the spread of the virus, the government is telling all those riders, please scream in your heart." "Like that ice cream song," Scylla said. "I scream, you scream, we all scream in our hearts." She shoved the list of phone numbers and addresses to the side and stood. "And we do, don't we? Even with the safety bars of distancing and isolation and masks." Since the last borough council meeting, Scylla seemed constantly angry. "You asked for this," Dale reminded her. "You knocked on doors, paid for signs. There are people on that board who are afraid of thinking. The argument had been about the cost of recycling, how the price of each pull and haul had been raised, yet the majority resisted adding a small assessment to each property owner. If people have to pay, more might actually do it, Silas said. You could quit. Impossible. They'd vote for a landfill on that vacant lot near the grade school if I wasn't there. It's terrifying what some people are capable of. Tell those people about the glacier that's disappeared in Iceland. They held a funeral for it. Mourners gathered, and there were old photographs of it when it was enormous. You know, like people have at viewings. That's more like it, Silas said. They were thinking local. That's where terrifying lives. They were making sure they were remembering what indestructible had been said to look like. Winter is going extinct. Since it was Friday, they stayed up to make sure their daughter Kayla and her 2 girls were finished with dinner in Los Angeles before their weekly FaceTime. In January, as if she'd made a resolution she needed to keep, she'd kicked her husband out. Her daughters were 10 and 7, young enough for Kayla to shoo them to the room they shared so she could have private time at the end of each call. This time, Kayla barely waited for their door to close. Teddy has started sending texts every night, she said. He drinks until he can type how much he wants to get back together. He wants to see the girls. Don't answer, Silas said. I tried that. Then he sends ugly texts, mean and full of name calling. Never respond, Silas said. Some things are unacceptable. I know what unacceptable is. There are dozens of words for it. Kayla turned away from the camera and said, I've got to go. Scylla closed the laptop. The older one looked so sad, she said. She seemed fine. If you're not paying attention, Scylla said. Good thing you never had a classroom full of kids to tend to. Reading their expressions is part of teaching, and despair is all over her face. Even the way she sits. She looks like a girl whose father has forced her onto a Japanese coaster. She's screaming in her heart. Everybody is these days, Dale said. Listen to yourself. There are worse ways to be unacceptable, Dale said. Like hitting her? Like hitting the girls? You know what I mean. No, tell me, what could be worse? The nights you hear me whimper, Dale said, when screaming isn't enough. And Scylla went so pale that he was terrified by her translation, as if it included a cowardice so thorough that she already blamed him for the future. Thanks.
Oh, what a great line there. Blamed him for the future. I love it. Thank you so much, Gary. Gary Fincke. Thank you for being here with us tonight. When I was giving the shout outs, I missed my good friend, the lovely and talented Patricia Bradar. So welcome and thank you for being here with us, Patricia. Okay, next we're going to hear from, we're going back to August. Susan Fuchtman from the August issue. She writes poetry and short fiction. Her recent and forthcoming work can be found in Short Circuit, Rec and Review, Pangyris, Flash Flood, and elsewhere. She lives in Iowa City, Iowa, where she is a board member for Porchlight Literary Organization, a nonprofit which supports writers through community-based, collaborative, and multidisciplinary approaches to creative writing. Susan Fuchtman.
Thank you, Francine. It's been really great to be a part of this reading tonight. Thank you. My story is called Fault Lines. When my brother Connor walked around the corner, he looked pretty much the same as always, though he'd been dead 2 weeks. He was dressed in the same jeans and t-shirt he'd had on when he jumped from the plane, but clean and whole, not bloodied where his skin ripped, not torn where shattered bones broke through. I'd been splitting wood. It felt good to haul the wood splitter around, throw it hard into a clean oak log again and again until my arms felt slack. I didn't see him right away, but felt his eyes pricking at my neck. When I turned and saw him, nonchalant, like he was home from college for the weekend, I dropped the splitter and said, "Connor!" I walked over, not sure what to do. It's not like there's ghost etiquette. He must have thought my brain had oozed out into that field like his. He stepped toward me. He didn't seem mad at all. I backed away. "No, Connor, no, I'm so sorry." I bent over and vomited. When I stood up, he wasn't there anymore. I pulled some weeds and wiped the splatter off my boots. The last time I'd seen him alive was his 21st birthday. He'd invited a bunch of us for his first solo parachute jump. Alf and Jeremy Hendershot, his girlfriend Julia, and some friends from college who lived nearby. Our cars and pickups were parked on the edge of the field where he'd land. Alf had a cooler in the back of his truck filled with soda and orange juice rather than the usual IPAs. Julia brought cinnamon rolls because they were Connor's favorite, and we made sure to save him one. We were amped, laughing and joking as we watched him drop out of the plane. At first he was okay, arms and legs spread wide. But then we saw the tangled chute. We covered our eyes, but we didn't think to plug our ears. The second time I saw Connor's ghost, Mom had me picking raspberries north of the house. The bushes were barbed and full of bees, so I was focused on avoiding both, yet picking quickly to get the chore over with. When I started back to the house, bucket full, Connor was there. He grinned, like he was happy to see me, happy to be a ghost. I set the pail down slowly and glared at him. Connor's eyes opened wide. "What the fuck, Connor?" I yelled. I hoped Mom wouldn't hear me in the house. "Why the fuck did you have to go and die?" I heard the back door slam. Mom was walking toward me, eyes narrowed and curious. Connor was gone. I picked up the bucket and strode into the house, pulse throbbing in my ears. His ghost visited me one more time. I'd been fishing in the creek below the pasture. At first, all I noticed were twigs falling. Then he jumped down from the big maple tree, red and yellow leaves skittering. I threw down my gear, including the creel with the 3 river trout. The last one I'd caught flopped a little, gills still moving, not quite dead yet. "I never should have given you that flyer." Connor shook his head, pointed at himself. Nobody else knew about the flyer that advertised skydiving lessons. Not Mom, not Dad, not the therapist. I'd thought I was helping him. "I didn't want your 21st birthday to end up like Mike Halstead's, drunk out of your brains and the Civic wrapped around a tree." I could feel the bile in my throat again, swallowed it. "Oh, Connor, I wanted..." Connor walked over and hugged me. He wasn't cold. He squeezed me so tight I couldn't talk, let alone breathe, but I didn't want him to stop. Once I could breathe again, I was alone. The 3rd trout, the one I'd caught last, was as still as the others now. Thank you.
Oh, that was wonderful, Susan. Susan Fuchtman, thank you for being here tonight with us. Okay, next we're going to hear from Julia Strayer, also from the August issue. She has stories in Glimmer Train, Kenyon Review Online, Smoke Loan Quarterly, the Cincinnati Review, Jellyfish Review, Wigleaf, Atticus Review, and others, including the Wigleaf Top 50 and the Best Small Fictions. She teaches creative writing at New York University. JuliaStrayer.com. Julia Strayer, take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Francine. And thank you, Michael. And Francine, I owe you so many. You're just so nice to me all the time. And I I appreciate everything you've done. And I just want to say to everybody here, everybody whose names I read on all the stories, I'm just so grateful because you're all there when I need some quick story to make a difference. You don't know it, but I do. And I also, one other thing, because I'm reading you a very, very, very short piece. This one is called Polar Opposites. And I never, ever, ever admit in print when something is nonfiction. Everything I write is fiction. But I'm going to tell you that this is nonfiction. But I'm never putting that in writing. So this is Polar Opposites. I follow a woman on Instagram who lives on Svalbard, an island north of Norway near the Arctic Circle. In summer, the sun never sleeps. In winter, the sun never rises, though its light leaks over the horizon. Winter landscape is pristine, swept in snow white, twilight hues of lavenders and streaks of pink and dark of night. Ribbons of green and purple northern lights dance overhead and stars scatter across the sky as sugar kisses. I want to lie under sky, follow reindeer, live in solitude and stare into the distance where ocean blues meld with sky. A palette of serene, clean, softened edges, minimal texture, calm, no expectations, no belongings, no time. I could never bring my mother. She'd appreciate the blues and periwinkles, a world painted in a cool blush to match her eyes, but she'd convince wind and waves to bring her frothy foam, debris, plastic waste from far away. She'd stack books in front of the window view and leave coffee cup rings on deck railings, burn lights to melt the stars, drop gloves and keys and purse in snow cover not to be found until spring melt. Plus Chinese food boxes piled on untouched mail perched on old magazines, punctuated with candy wrappers and used tea bags, wire hangers stuffed in garbage bags, shopping bags, grocery bags, and laundry baskets burdened with wrinkled clothing. And the only thing she wouldn't have is an iron. I don't know how she'd do it, but she'd ruin everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. And thank you for your kind words. And I will throw some kind words back at you and just urge everyone to go Google the story Kangaroo Baby from Atticus Review. And that's all I'm going to say. It's just so good. But it's by Julia. Thank you for being here with us tonight, Julia Strayer.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from, just one of the loveliest people I know in the whole world, Kelli Short Borges from the May issue. And I've had the pleasure, she comes to New York every so often. And we've had breakfast and lunch and all sorts of things. And we're going to all the diners. We're going to hit all the diners in New York City at some point. So she writes from her home in Phoenix, Arizona, where her family has lived for 6 generations. Her fiction has appeared or is forthcoming in Pete Smoke, Gift of Dream, Flash Boulevard, Lost Balloon, Moon City Review, and elsewhere. Kelli's work has been nominated for the Best of the Net, Best Small Fictions, the Pushcart Prize. Recently, her work was chosen for the Best Microfiction 2024 and 2025 anthologies and the Wigleaf Top 50 long list. She's currently working on her first novel. Kelli Short Borges.
Thank you, Francine. And I'm coming back to New York in October.
Okay.
I was going to send you a message. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here with so many familiar faces and just really excited to read tonight. So thank you, Francine. So the story I had in the May issue is called Russet and Ochre. We had a fight, he tells them. That much he remembers. After, he'd left the house and gone shopping for mulch. He couldn't remember much else, couldn't remember what the fight was about, but he remembers the mulch. After his purchase, he left the garden center. He decided to pop into the Blue Bottle Cafe for a coffee on his way home. He would need the caffeine, he told himself. There was a lot to do. When he opened the door to the cafe, a bell announced his presence. He didn't feel very present. In fact, he felt a bit off kilter as he ordered his Americano extra hot. He always ordered things extra hot, even on extra hot days like the day was shaping out to be, a day he would spend spreading mulch in the garden. Gardening was his thing. It would be the soundtrack to his life if his life had a soundtrack. He was thinking about this as he sipped his Americano, feeling a bit strange, thinking about this so-called gardening soundtrack. Thinking about the high-pitched whistle of blackbirds and the wind yawning through the maples that umbrellaed over his yard, their leaves just starting to turn russet and ochre. And it seemed that even the russet was part of the soundtrack, even the ochre. Colors weren't sounds, he knew that, but nothing was logical really when you got down to it, especially on a morning when everything seemed a bit strange, a bit off-kilter. So yes, russet and ochre had a tone. And if he was being honest, it was a tone you might hear at a funeral. No one could refute that, could they? The leaves would soon wither and curl on themselves and fall from the tree, and then they would finally decompose, and that would be the end of the leaves. So yes, the leaves, the colors were part of this gardenly symphony, part of the soundtrack to life. The thud of a shovel would be the baritone, followed by a crunch as it sliced through the earth. And tears made a sound, didn't they? The staccato of his falling tears would be the percussion, a sort of plink, plink, as they landed on the shovel, as they dripped onto the mulch he used to fill the hole, as they fell onto the lilies he would plant. Tears are part of the symphony, a small but crucial part, is what he said now at the station. They showed that he cared, and he knew she loved lilies. She would have approved. I'm reading one more very, very short micro. Hopefully that's okay. Thanks, Francine. That was published in August in Centaur, and it's called We Don't Meet in Buddha. We don't meet in Buddha like we planned, on the right side of the river, where the lift took us up to the top of Gellert Hill, and we had a view of the city, the Danube slicing through Buddha and Pest. And we could see forever from our perch above the street vendors selling langos, above the maze, the twisted wind of cobblestones, above the smog. We could see forever from the top of the city, where we ducked under the canopies of almond trees, their nut-sweet blooms anointing us newlywed, my baby pink lips marking you mine, and it was spring then. I remember that clearly it was spring, and even so I saw winter. And I asked what would happen if the end of the world comes with no way to find you. Perhaps World War III or a magnitude 9 earthquake or a tsunami. I saw a documentary and it can happen, I said. Or one of us lost somewhere in Timbuktu without a compass or coins for some ancient payphone, and you laughed and I laughed at the word Timbuktu, but I pressed then, I said, it's a serious question. And you told me, you promised, if the end of the world comes, we'll find each other here at the top of Gellert Hill, at the top of the lift at the top of the city. And I believed you. Me just 23 and you a year younger. I believed you. Never knowing how many places, how many ways, how many years there are to get lost. Done. Thank you.
Stunning, Kelly. That was just really beautiful. Thank you for being here with us tonight, Kelli Short Borges. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Francine.
Here's some amazing, amazing stuff tonight. Really, I'm just having a good time. Hope you are. Okay, we just have a few more, so hang in there. Next, we're going to hear from Collette Grace. She was in the August issue. She's a Texan writer, a Texan author who needs to write like she needs to breathe. She is a graduate of Texas State University with a BA in English and Religious Studies. She enjoys literary fiction with queer and romantic themes. Though her guilty pleasure genre is apocalypse fiction, she currently works as an administrative assistant. Her hobbies include reading, writing, napping, and being plagued by emails. Her Instagram is Collette.Grace. Collette Grace. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Francine, and thank you for hosting, and thank you to Michael for producing. This is actually my first reading that I've ever participated in, so I'm sincerely elated to be here and to be listening. So thank you.
Wonderful for us, yeah.
This piece is called Tenderloin. The driver asks me what I plan to do while I'm in the city. I try a lie on for size. I tell him I'm visiting my dad. The window is rolled down, sweat cooling off my palm as I ease it into the jet stream generated by our highway cruise. My father is in a different time zone. His tenderloin recipe requires cooking twine, lemon juice, and a rub. I find myself wishing I lived in another decade. I have not eaten meat in 7 years. If you handed me a fork full of his tenderloin, I would not hesitate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Collette, and that was a wonderful reading. So welcome to the world of Flash.
Thank you.
Collette Grace. We have 2 more readers. Louella Lester, also just such lovely people here tonight, my goodness. She was in the May issue, and she's a writer, photographer. She posts these wonderful photos on Facebook with a couple of words to write to, just amazing. She lives in Winnipeg, Canada, author of Glass Bricks, at Bay Press 2021, contributing editor at New Flash Fiction Review, and is included in Best Microfiction 2024. Her writing photos appear in a variety of journals and anthologies. LouellaLesterblog.wordpress.com. You'll put that in the chat for us after, okay? Louella Lester, welcome.
Thanks, Francine and Michael. Yeah, I don't generally type as things go in the chat because I can't focus and I miss half of the stories.
Okay.
So, but I do, I'm honestly saying I enjoy them all. So, the first, I'm going to read 2, because mine is a micro, both of them are micros. This one is titled The Nice One. And years ago, I worked with a woman who was that one in the office that was always so nice to everybody. But I would watch her and see how when she was talking to people, she'd ask them a question, and then she tended to not be listening to them, and she'd be looking at the door for the next person. And I often wondered what was going on in her mind. So that's what this piece is. The Nice One. I'm that person who everyone in the office loves. The one who remembers birthdays, remembers favorite restaurants and orders food in, buys the cakes, the gifts, sneaks about the building to get the cards signed, even by those who didn't contribute any money. I'll keep on doing that until this spring when I retire. They won't know that they've had my birth date wrong all along. That I hate the bunches of lilies a colleague brings in from her garden every year and plunks on my desk as my special birthday gift for spring, when sunflowers would be more fitting for my actual fall birthday. I'll just keep smiling and eat the sushi when I long for curry. I'll tear up as I read the card signed only once, love from us all. They won't know that I use petty cash to buy their gifts, the cards, the food, even though I keep collecting from them as usual. That I spit into the food delivery containers. That I'm much better at working the office computer system than I pretend, so it's not just the day of my birth that's wrong, but also the year, and I'm much too young to be retiring this spring with a full pension that I'll take in a lump sum. And even if someone eventually figures it out, when they notice the other money that's missing, it won't matter because I'll be long gone and they don't know my real name. And the second one that I will read is from I was published in the lovely Gooseberry Pie. And it's, like I said, it's about baseball. It's called What a True Fan Does. She sometimes skips work to watch baseball on a weekday afternoon, the same way she once skipped school to smoke dope in a friend's car. But she thinks this is more important because she is the only one who can actually change the outcome of the game. Only she can speak to the players through the TV screen using nicknames like Kirky Lurky and Eager Ernie and Yimmy my man, whispering, "You are the only one who can do it," or "Now's your time," cajoling, "Throw a splitter," or "Bunt the ball," shouting, "Come on, for fuck's sakes, they're paying you millions," telling each player what only he needs to hear. And if he doesn't respond, doesn't look her in the eye through the camera, she uses her powers to churn the crowd into a frenzy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Louella. That was really fun. Louella Lester, she was in the May issue. I don't know if I'd mentioned that before. And Louella was our penultimate reader. I like to say penultimate because you don't really get to use that word that often. It just really means one thing, next to last. So I just have to use it sometimes, which means we're at our last reader, Sage Tyrtle. Sage Tyrtle's unsettling words haunt the Offing and New Delta Review, yet NPR/CBC/PBS let them on air. They teach storytelling to suspiciously talented humans. Clarion, Second City, Work Plus Craft Rants, Sage Tyrtle.
Super excited to be part of this evening. It's been lovely to wander through all of your imaginations tonight. I have two very short pieces to read. One is Looking Out Windows. Robert's grandfather was video camera kid at high school, at parties, hauling around a Codavision the size of his head, carrying extra 8mm tapes from when he filled one up, with girls in leg warmers singing Duran Duran in the quad, with football players chugging Coors, with the smokers in the parking lot leaning against Mustangs in denim jackets, with his own face, once, in the boys' restroom mirror, moving to the side of the camera, looking. Robert's father was influencer guy, pointing his iPhone 18 at his generous mouth, eating maggot-ridden cheese, hanging off the side of a high-rise at dawn, the pink light highlighting his chiseled jaw, hopping the fence to join the dancers during Carnival in Rio de Janeiro and keeping time perfectly, lying on the sand, stroking a baby crocodile's head, whispering, "Next week, I'm train surfing in Beijing. Follow for more." And then the moment he moves toward the stop button, how his eyes stop sparkling. Robert is a recording head. After his dad's accident, he needed to bring in money. Post-surgery, his hyper-realistic glass eyes track the people around him. His hazel irises surrounding the aperture that automatically streams everything he sees to the appropriate authorities. If he closes his eyes for too long, if he looks down for too long, his pay is docked. He tells himself it isn't his fault as his eyes snare people climbing the border walls, illegal documents, fires, insurrection, shields wielded as weapons, screaming, so much screaming. So that is the first piece, and I'm going to read the second piece, which is called When Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis Have Sex on Moonlighting. When it happens, she looks carsick, morning sick, sick of being called exacting, of being called angry, of being lesser than. As foreplay, they scream at each other, because if Bruce Willis throws rocks at you in the playground, Sybil, it means he likes you. As foreplay, she slaps him. And remember when men slapped women to stop them being hysterical in movies? And then women would say, "Thank you, Dr. Thompson / Christopher / stranger who was walking past me on the street. Thank you." fingers in their mouths and scrape out the screenplay words, gargle mouthwash, spit into the sink. To get ready for this scene, Bruce Willis changes into a tank top and shorts and tucks his drooping penis inside, which is such an important penis, it gets paid more than Sybil Shepherd's vagina. Sybil removes her shirt, her pants, her bra. The costume designer takes her clothes away and comes back with a sheet for her to wear. This is Emmy Award-winning art. The number that shows on the scale when Sybil Shepherd weighs herself is deemed acceptable by 1986 standards. By 2025 standards, there would be subreddits devoted to the fury evoked by a woman with this number in front of their eyes instead of a woman with that number. And remember when there was always a fat woman in movies? And that fat woman, her clothes straining against her body, would sit in the cafeteria growling, "Get me 3 more burgers, and this time I want my soda in a bucket," because there couldn't possibly be any thoughts in her head but food. And when the director called cut, the woman would go into the bathroom and try to cut the fat from her body with dull knives made of hate. And just like us, the fat teenage girls in the audience wish herself dead. When did we sign up for this beauty contest? Did they put a pen in our tiny hands as we slid out of our mother's wombs? Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis kneel together awkwardly and kiss like the director superglued their lips together as a surprise. Then they have to lean together as Bruce pushes over a coffee table, but gently in a way that says there's only one glass coffee table on set. And Sybil Shepherd's sheet is so tight around her body that it looks like Bruce Willis is molesting a mummy, like a security guard is about to say, "Sir, sir!" And Sybil is a headless, armless body. And remember when men and women started making movies about the tragedy of being invisible after age 40? As if it was a tragedy that men stopped screaming, "You ugly fuck," at half of us on the street. As if it was a tragedy that men stopped screaming, "Fuck me now," at the other half of us on the street. And as Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis fumble their way onto a bed, what we are watching is Sybil Shepherd being paid money to simulate fucking a man she hates, but not as much money as Bruce Willis is being paid, even though they are in the scene together, even though they're doing exactly the same thing. Thank you so much.
And that's what you call a mic drop. What a way to end our reading. That was wonderful, Sage. So yeah, I just think this has been a terrific reading. I've enjoyed hearing every single one of you. Claire Bateman, who for my money is just one of the queens of prose poetry, by the way. Jeff Harvey, Shoshauna Shai, Mikki Aronoff, Abbie Dahl, Maru Yang, Travis Flatt, Gary Fincke, Susan Fuchtman, Julia Strayer, Kelli Borges, Collette Grace, Louella Lester, and Sage Tyrtle. I want to thank you all for submitting your wonderful work to SoFlo. Please continue to submit because I just love reading all of your work. And thank you for everyone for listening. And this will be up soon, I think, on the website, Michael. And I want to thank Michael for taking care of things on the technical side and for just being so wonderful. Anytime I email him and I say, "Michael, can I get this? Can I get a list of this?" He's like, yeah. So this is a dream job for me. So thank you all, and hope to see you next time. Thank you all, and drive safely, and good night.